when you spoke with that mentor and they recommended, hey, you're great with people, but you could even take it to the next level by looking more into emotional intelligence. Was there a specific book that they recommended or you found on your own that really helped you in this area?
There is a book on emotional intelligence through the Harvard Business Review, um, that they actually have a full set, and I ended up buying a couple of because they go into the individual topics of emotional intelligence. So for instance, like self-awareness, self-regulation. So they have a whole actual book set. But Harvard Business Review, if you haven't looked into those resources on there, one, they have a lot of great content, especially for leaders. They have a lot of great resources. They have books that they sell on there as well. There was the one that I was trying to remember the author's name. Let's see if it's here. No, it's on my bookshelf in the other room. Um, it's really an interesting topic. For leaders that are maybe struggling to communicate with their team or even to their counterparts, I highly recommend it because it does give you some activities to self-reflect on. So when you're done with conversations with people, you're looking back and looking over the full conversation and saying, is there stuff that I said that may have been like a shock to somebody? Because
Mm.
I think sometimes I'm a product of this, not a product of it, but I guess that's a bad term to use for that. But I know that I'm one of these people that prior to that conversation with him, I know this was me. Like,
Hmm.
I don't care what the other person thinks. Like, this needs to be said, right? I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be direct, and I'll be honest with you. I learned that trait from one of my really good friends that I've known since I was like 21,
Hmm.
maybe 20. And she's just very direct, very blunt, doesn't care about what the other person thinks. And I'm like, oh, well, why wouldn't I? Like, yeah,
That's
why
how I'm
wouldn't I
going to be
just put
too.
put my feelings out there? Like, they need to know how I feel, and no matter what, at what cost, at what rate that expands it, because that could burn a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
And learning to be effective in your communication will take you a lot farther than just being blunt with somebody.
Yes.
So you really do need to strategically talk to people, because you have to understand the room. Like, there's a difference between you and I having a conversation and us understanding each other's individual personalities than there is when we're talking to a group of individuals, right?
Hmm.
Now we're not catering to whether you're a dynamo or a thinker, right? Those are the terms that you and I are pretty familiar with. But
Hmm.
when you start to do a little bit more research into personalities, then you start to understand, well, if that person is a thinker, they need more information. What what do I need to adapt? How do I need to adapt when talking to them so I'm more effective in that conversation?
Yeah.
So it's like that's the important piece is understanding one, yourself, and just reflecting on when you're done having meetings or talking with your superiors or your I don't want to say lower teammates, that's not the word I want to use, but
Sure.
your actual team, the team that you're leading. How did you come across? Do you think the conversation was effective? Do you think it was well received? Do um do you feel like you may have said something that may have sharply cut somebody, just not knowing? Like, so you do need to reflect on those conversations, and you do need to reflect on those speaking opportunities that you have when leading, and making sure that you're understanding the audience of who you're speaking to. And similar to our session with Rochester's Finest, I understand that you want to know who you're talking to so you can be the most effective in
Yes.
in the delivery of your message. It's super important. So that's why, both in business and in personal relationships, it's super important for people to understand that although you may think your opinion is well received by everyone, no matter how direct you give it, it's not. And if you're not understanding the person that you're talking to sitting across from you, your message probably isn't being received. So you just wasted breath.